Hello, everybody. Welcome to the most recent and probably your new favorite podcast about motorsports. This is Azul do Volante.
Good morning, good afternoon, and why not good evening? Here we are again, going back from pit lane. We are.
Azul.
First of all, I'm going to introduce our guide, our main engineer, our top chairman. There in the beautiful Lisbon is.
João Barata, here I am.
Hello, João.
I'm good. And you on that side of the Atlantic Ocean?
Well, hello. My name is Diego. I am from Argentina. I am the guy who changes the front right wheel, the one who has problems with the gun. Well, I am going out from a bad cold. Please forgive me. My voice isn't very well today, but we are going to try to do our best speaking about a different weekend in Formula One. A very special one for many, many reasons. And we are going to do our little review about the British Grand Prix. And many things were different, Joao. Which were the things that were different this week?
The structure of the weekend was completely different. We had for the first time the sprint race. We will have two more this year. And so, like I said, the structure of the weekend was very different. We had the usual qualifying we have in Saturday. It was on Friday, and that qualifying gave the order to the grid to the sprint race, as we all probably know. And then the sprint race gave the starting grid for the Sunday and main race. Well, the GP itself. It was the first experience. I think it went okay. Not like awesome, but it was not bad. There are a lot of reasons why it went okay, and I think we can start by talking about those. And first is that teams only have, instead of having 3 hours to set up the cars and do a lot of things, they only have one free practice before that first qualifying and the car being with the fixed setup, because as you know, in the usual Grand Prix weekend, after free practice 3 they can change the majority of the setup of the car, and in this weekend it happened after the first practice. That makes the work of the teams much more difficult, and it can even change a little bit the order, especially in that midfield where everyone is so close that missing the setup, not having the setup perfect, can change the situation a lot. So that's the first thing. I think that is a very positive thing. It generates, how do you say? It's not predictable, unpredictability. Yeah, it's more unpredictable. And the second is for the circuit owners and for the guys with the television rights, because instead of having 2 interesting days, they have 3, which in the commercial side of the thing is much more pleasant. You probably understand. What did you think about it, Diego?
It was interesting side. There was a lot to see. There was a whole weekend full of Formula One, but I don't know if a sprint race, especially, is an attraction. I mean, we are all used to a main attraction, the Grand Prix, the Sunday race, and this situation perhaps makes it more Formula One as a show, as a sports show, and a little less a sport for fans. One thing that, I don't know, perhaps I'm suggesting it's not as good as other categories, but it is common Formula 3, Formula 2, WTCR, other categories, not as important to have another kind of structure at quality times. So it was a little bit strange. And I don't know if you would like to speak about that right now, but in my opinion, sprint race had 3 or 4 interesting laps, and that was all. Does the whole thing worth it? I really don't know. But what do you think about that?
I think if it was just for like the only good thing was the sprint race, it wasn't worth it, because like you said, there were probably 3 or 4 laps that were interesting. Maybe they could do some changes in the sprint race rules to make it more attractive. They already have the DRS with 2 seconds, but instead of one. But what I think is good is the consequences that the structure does on the rest of the weekend. Because I don't know, for instance, if Ferrari's performance that was so good, maybe it's because in 1 hour they were the ones that got the setup like almost perfectly right, and the others couldn't do it, and so Ferrari almost won the race because it was just not like luck that the guys in front crashed. Leclerc held the position for a lot of time. He had really good pace, especially in the soft. And so I don't know if that is a consequence of having a much less free practice, and that was good. And also like, the commercial side, it's more money. But yeah, if you look purely to the sprint race, it was not the most interesting for sure.
No, in fact, it was another thing to attend because
Yeah.
there's a sprint race, so I've got to be ready for the race, and it was okay. The cars on track and to see great starts like Alonso had a beautiful one. I don't know how many positions he gained during the start of the sprint race, and I think he really took an advantage of this kind of quality. Even thinking about he could do the best during the Grand Prix itself. But it was a particular case. Perhaps right on the other side, opposite to it, it was the Perez case that had a horrible sprint race, and it conditioned all his weekend. But I repeat, I'm sorry, I repeat myself all the time, but there were specific cases to analyze, and in the general, I mean the whole thing, it was interesting because it's having a different setup, not having the possibility of changing it, and it was like gambling with the setups.
Yeah.
So every team's expertise counts. For that side it's okay, but on the other side, I don't know if it is really an added to the sport, to the whole race weekend. Yep.
In tracks which are easier to overtake, like Monza, and it's one of the tracks that we will have a sprint race. I think Monza makes a lot of sense. I think instead of Silverstone, where during Sunday race we saw that they were with many problems to overtake. It was much more difficult than in previous years even, I think. So maybe instead of Silverstone, they could have done it in Baku with that long straight. Well,
I would like to...
Interlagos, I don't know.
Sorry, Joao. I would like to ask you which are the other two circuits that are having this sprint race, because they said that it was going to be initially for the Grand Slam circuit. I don't know if it really exists. I mean, the definition of Grand Slam circuit. But
I just said that Monza is one of them.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, I think. Monza is...
Yeah, you just explained it. Yeah.
And the other one is Interlagos. And that one I don't know if it will be good. But usually races in Brazil are okay. So, yeah. But I think at least if there were 3 races, I would have chosen instead of Silverstone, I would have done that in Baku. Monza, I think it's okay. It's right. Interlagos, I don't know. Maybe it's the right call. I'm not seeing any other track maybe with...
In my opinion, Interlagos, I know I'm not pronouncing it very well, but I'm just trying to do an imitation, as you said, Interlagos or something. Is just for the crowd, just for the people. It is not because of the Grand Slam circuit.
Another circuit that would be okay is it would be Canada, Montreal, but we will not have that
great.
this year.
But not this year.
Yeah,
but I completely agree. A beautiful circuit for this kind of situations with the Wall of Champions, with that long straight, dust. dust flying because of the wind. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Blunt sprint races would be in Baku, Monza, and Montreal.
That is our suggestion for next season.
Yeah.
I had fear. I really had fear about having disqualification in every race of the season.
Mm.
Once I had that fear, but it seems it's not going to be like that.
They won't do that. They won't.
But it was an idea. I confess that it was like fear of the dark. No, no. But all this time I've been telling you that I didn't like the sprint race. In fact, resuming. But what you have described about the weekend, it was interesting. I mean, the final result, and speaking about the race, the Grand Prix, the final result was okay. It gave a lot of emotions. I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more about sprint race or you would like to speak about the Grand Prix.
Now we can move to the Grand Prix and to the first lap of the Grand Prix.
Oh, a lot of discuss. Please, you first.
So, as everyone probably knows, we had an intense fight between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, and there was a crash. There was a crash over there in Copse corner, and Hamilton was able to continue, and Verstappen had a big impact, 51 Gs I think. It was tough, many damaged parts in the car. We still don't know how the engine is, but I would guess that it's not at 100% condition. If that engine is at 100%, I will give a thumbs up to Honda. They make engines like war tanks.
I would like to ask you something, João. What happens with the power unit, the gearbox, if they have to change it? Is first to have a penalty? I mean,
I think
the accident.
the power unit, yes. But I think that the gearbox is a little different. I think the gearbox, if it's a DNF or a crash, they are,
Mhm.
how you say, they are able to change it without a penalty. But I'm not sure. But regarding the power unit,
Oh, mhm.
it counts for that 3 or 2 elements that they can use in a year, which is very bad for them.
Okay, really clear. And we still know nothing. So
Yeah.
we are waiting, I think, for Hungary to know. Perhaps that weekend we finally will know about what happens and what is needed to change.
Mhm.
And please,
My opinion, I think regarding the incident, it's pretty clear. I believe it's mostly a racing incident. Yeah, we can attribute more to Lewis, in my opinion, maybe 60-40 or 55-45, I don't know. But the thing is that, well, the two of them are to blame somehow because they could have avoided it. And, well, yeah, that's it. They could have avoided the situation. But maybe Lewis was the one that was more at fault. But interestingly, Verstappen, regarding his position in the championship, having a better car, maybe was the one that should have thought, let that one go, and I will get him later. But that's another discussion. Regarding the incident, I think that's it, racing incident. Maybe Lewis a little bit more at fault. When you are on when the crash ends with a car touching with the front wheel on the rear wheel of another, usually I think it's pretty clear that that guy has a little bit more fault in that. So, yeah. But I think that that was not the problem because for me it would be a racing incident and there are other questions that I think are more important than that. And the first one is the rules maybe aren't the best in this situation because Stewart gave Lewis a 10-second penalty. So it is pretty clear that for them, Lewis was at fault, right?
yeah.
That's clear. And if Lewis is at fault, why do the damages in the power unit damage Verstappen? And I'm talking about this situation because it's the one that gets more attention because it's the championship fight. But it could be another accident. It could be Sainz with Ricciardo, and yeah, Sainz touches Ricciardo and he ruins the car completely. And well, if the stewards say that the fault is on the other guy, shouldn't there be some mechanism that the guy who is innocent
Well, yeah.
doesn't get, because he's already out of the race. Lewis won, and he won, and it could be second, third. Well, it would be better for him either way. He is already out of the race, and he has 750,000 euros of damage without the engine. If you do the math there, it's almost probably with the engine, it will be almost 1% of the budget limit that they have to, which is a lot for a crash. And so, yeah, that situation I think it's a little bit strange, and maybe Formula One should revisit the rules.
Sorry, so do you remember that race when Valtteri Bottas and Russell crashed? Bottas' car was almost destroyed. And there was a similar problem, I mean, about the budget.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so important because, or we didn't pay so much attention because that guy is not fighting for the title.
Yeah,
I mean,
that doesn't bring so much attention, yeah.
Well, it is a problem. Yeah, it is a big problem, but no more than that. But this time, because it involves the two guys that are fighting for the title, then, oh, yeah, we've got to do focus on that.
Yeah.
And it is the whole thing. I mean, both cases represent examples of the same problem.
And now I think it will be a very difficult situation. Oh, and just out of curiosity, I'm seeing here, Bottas repair was 1.4 million US dollars. So a little less in euros, but a lot of money.
A lot.
A lot of money. And, well, in this case, it's more than 1% of the budget, a little bit more, which is enormous, but okay.
Yeah, so let's remember that the money you put on repairing that cars, it cannot be used for other stuff, other issues during the rest of the season. You have even if you have the money, you cannot use it.
Of course.
That is the spirit of the budget limit.
Yeah, and this will be very difficult, I think. Imagine if we reach the end of the championship in the last few races. Yeah, in the last race or the one before, Verstappen gets a penalty for engine, a unit, and loses the championship by 5 points or something like that. The stewards put themselves in a very bad situation, I think, if that happens. Because in their view, Hamilton was at fault, but the crime clearly compensated because he took Verstappen out, he won the race, so 25 points there, and he damaged the engine of Verstappen. And I think that could be a problem if in the end of the championship we see a tiny margin between them. Maybe this track, this GP will resurface and will be talked again.
Yeah, very, very good point, Joao. That is a thing I could never thought about. I would never thought about. Sorry. I never thought about this. And it is really important because we are only speaking about whose fault it was, but we are not speaking a lot about the future, about the end of the championship, about the possibilities there and how this could complicate the future of Verstappen championship. I'm meaning that Verstappen is going the one who beat Hamilton. I really think it, but I wasn't expecting to say that. So, and about Checo Perez and other kind of strategy, I would like to. Would you like to say anything else about this Verstappen Hamilton issue? I completely agree about your opinion. It's a race incident, a little bit more of Hamilton's fault. It wasn't a good place. There was a whole race to be run. They should not afford this situation in that way. But apart from that, would you like to add anything else?
No, I think not for now. We in a next chapter we could discuss just to get people's attention, so they are curious about what we will speak. I think we could speak about how penalties are viewed as a monstrosity and like an assassination of the sport, where
Oh.
uh,
Hmm.
like people say that penalties kill motorsport, and I don't understand why. But that for another time.
Okay. Very interesting.
Just
Let's
because
speak.
in every sport you have penalties, like in football, even if you don't do things on purpose and you are fighting for the ball and you do something, well, if you do something that is not justice, is somehow
Hmm.
not justice, yeah, not fair, even if it's
Hmm.
not
On purpose, as you
on
said it,
purpose, yeah,
you.
you get a
you
penalty or a fault. So I
yep.
don't understand the thing with that. But we will discuss in another episode. Regarding the other drivers in the race and teams,
Yeah.
I think Charles Leclerc did a phenomenal job. If we had like some races that Lando was a complete beast, he was still very good in this one, but I think the beast mode was on Leclerc during this weekend. Right from qualifying, sprint race, and then the race, it just got better. It seemed
Hmm.
from Friday to Saturday to Sunday, and that was good. I think also Daniel Ricciardo made a step up. Did you? What did you think about his performance?
Yeah. It was great to see him again fighting very close to his teammate. A good weekend for him.
Yeah, for sure. And also Ocon with a new chassis and some new parts. And in fact, it seemed that he had an issue with the car previously because he was much more closer to Alonso.
Hmm.
In fact, they specified that they said they found an issue in the front suspension. And well, so I think he will get better from now on, which is good. Um, George Russell. Uh, I think no need to talk about him. No more words. He will be in Mercedes. He will be there.
Yeah,
And
for sure. He had also a good sprint race. Uh, so sad to see him losing a few places in the grid because of a penalty. But only qualification is a good place for him to be in, even if it's a sprint race.
yeah, and did you see? It's like ironic. The only race that he finishes in the top 10 with Williams is the one that doesn't give points.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I think maybe Sainz did also a good job, but it gets a little bit obfuscated because of Leclerc performance. But it was good because he started from the back. And well, on the negative side, Perez, Vettel, he did, he, Vettel didn't do one of those in a long time.
He did an spin or something
Yeah,
during
yeah, yeah,
the second start. I,
exactly.
do I remember well? Something happened. Something broke in his car, and it was like a procession. Finally, he retired, doing always being in the last places.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's the main thing. Alonso was good. He had a he did a good race. Bottas, the usual thing, letting Hamilton go. It's
Yeah,
Valtteri.
doing his work.
Yeah,
That's why Hamilton loves him.
Valtteri. It's James. We have a situation here.
Yeah, I think Luis sends him roses every
Yeah.
St. Valentine's Day.
Oh, but there was, yeah, I just remember there was a very interesting thing. After Lewis and Verstappen crashed, and during the safety car, the team asked Bottas. There's footage of that and radio. The team asked Bottas, Valtteri, please get on the side of Lewis and try to see if there is damage in the car. And Bottas drives to the left of Lewis and spends some seconds
Yeah.
there, like looking, and said, I don't see nothing. Maybe on the front wing, some things broken, but yeah, that's it. It's interesting how it's teamwork.
I can't believe it. He's a completely wingman. He's like Alfred to Batman or something. Oh, yeah, amazing. And well, the one thing I would like to ask you about is the decision took by Red Bull. I mean, they were at 7th or 8th place with Perez, and they called him to pit just to obtain the lap record and not letting Hamilton to add that point during the race. Even if that represented Perez not any point during the race, just to I don't know how to say perjudicar, just to make a bad thing to Hamilton. That was something strange.
I think
well,
you have there.
it,
I think you have there the confirmation that there is another wingman there.
yeah, he's not still checking Verstappen car, but soon he will.
Yeah. And well, I think that's it, at least from my side. Do you have any more interesting
Okay.
thing to say? Any questions?
Well, we have still a long to go about this weekend. As you said, we will still be discussing this during other chapters. I'm pretty sure. But
Maybe
it
if
is.
we have a boring
Yep.
double round of Formula E, maybe we can talk 10 more minutes about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. We could do an extra, a bonus for Silverstone F1 2021 race. But over now, it was all.
That's right. Thank you. Follow us on Instagram. And bye bye.
Yes, please. See you next time, and see
Bye-bye.
you all next time. Bye bye.